Commander Derek Patterson stood in the dark control room and watched the screens showing the enemy approach. Red dots moved across the map, getting closer to the colony every minute. The Vorn were coming, and Derek knew his people had less than 2 days left. The colony on Kepler 452b was built to survive, but not against this. Derek looked at the wall where his daughter Sophie had drawn a picture of Earth with blue oceans and green forests. She had never been there. Neither had Derek. Both of them were born on this frontier world. Dr. Lisa Morrison entered the control room with papers in her hands. Her face showed worry and exhaustion. She had not slept in 36 hours. Lisa worked in the biology section, but today she came as a member of the defense team. "The last test results are in," Lisa said, placing the papers on the table. None of the weapons work. Derek already knew this. He had seen the reports from every weapon test. The ion cannons fired, but the Vorn shields held. The plasma rifles melted rock, but not the Vorn. The tactical nuclear devices were their last hope, but even those failed. The Vorn technology was too advanced. Their crystalline bodies could absorb or deflect anything humans threw at them. "How many soldiers do we have ready?" Derek asked. 240, Lisa replied. "But weapons do not matter anymore. We are facing an enemy that our entire military power cannot stop." Sergeant Frank Tucker came through the door. Frank had been a soldier for 20 years. He fought in 3 different wars before coming to this colony. His face was hard and serious. Frank never showed emotion, but Derek could see the worry in his eyes. "The Vorn formation is 12 hours away," Frank said. "Their ships are moving in a straight line. They will reach the main colony entrance by tomorrow morning." Derek looked at the map. The red dots were getting closer. Somewhere in the underground shelters, 500 people waited for protection that Derek could not give them. His daughter Sophie was down there too, with Max. Their dog Max was a small animal, brown and white, brought to the colony 4 years ago as a puppy. The dog had no military value. He could not fight or protect anyone. He was just a small companion that made people smile. But Sophie loved that dog more than anything. "We need to gather the remaining soldiers and tell them the truth," Frank said. Derek agreed. The soldiers deserved to know what they faced. They deserved to know that their weapons would not save them. But they also deserved to know that Derek would not give up without a fight. The command center grew busy as soldiers arrived. They wore armor and carried guns that would not work. Derek looked at their young faces. Many of them were born on this world. This was their home. The Vorn would take it from them. Derek stood up to address them. His voice was strong, even though he felt weak inside. "The Vorn will be here tomorrow," Derek said. "Our weapons cannot stop them. Their technology is far ahead of ours. But we will fight anyway. We will hold our positions. We will give our people time to move deeper into the shelters. And we will show the Vorn that humans do not surrender." The soldiers listened without speaking. They knew the truth, but they also knew their commander. They would follow Derek into battle even though they could not win. After the meeting, Derek walked through the corridors toward the shelters. He wanted to see Sophie before the fighting started. He needed to see her face one more time. The underground shelters were warm and filled with people. Children played in the common areas. Adults prepared food and water. Everyone tried to act normal, but everyone was afraid. They all knew the colony was dying. Sophie sat in a corner with Max on her lap. The dog's tail wagged when he saw Derek. Sophie looked up at her father with large eyes. "Are the Vorn coming?" Sophie asked. She was 8 years old. She understood more than Derek wished she did. "Yes," Derek said. He decided to tell her the truth. "The Vorn are coming tomorrow." Sophie did not cry. She held Max closer and buried her face in the dog's fur. The dog licked her face and stayed quiet. Derek sat down next to his daughter. He put his arm around her. They sat together without speaking. Derek wanted to tell Sophie that everything would be fine, but he could not lie to her. "Will we die?" Sophie asked. Derek did not answer immediately. He looked at his daughter and thought about what to say. "I do not know," Derek finally answered. "But I will do everything I can to protect you and everyone here." Sophie nodded. She understood. She was young, but she was brave. Derek stayed with Sophie for another hour. Then he had to return to the control room. There was work to do. There were defenses to prepare. There was a battle to fight. Back in the control room, Derek watched the screens again. The red dots moved closer. Hours turned into minutes. The night passed slowly. By dawn, the Vorn ships appeared on the horizon. They were massive and beautiful in a terrible way. Their crystalline hulls reflected the sunlight like broken mirrors. They descended slowly toward the colony, without fear or hesitation. Derek gave the order to fire. Every weapon the colony possessed opened up at once. Ion cannons burned the air. Plasma rifles created waves of heat. Explosions lit up the sky. The Vorn ships kept moving down. Their shields flashed with light, but they did not break. Every human weapon was useless. The invasion had begun. Derek looked at the picture Sophie had drawn of Earth. He thought of his daughter safe in the shelters below. He thought of Max, the small dog that could not help anyone. He did not know that help was already coming from an unexpected place. The attack continued for 6 hours. Derek watched from the command center as his soldiers fought a battle they could not win. Every weapon fired with precision and courage. Every shot was useless. The Vorn landed their ships around the colony perimeter. Crystalline warriors emerged, tall and sharp and raw. They moved across the ground with speed that human eyes could barely follow. The soldiers fired at them, but the bullets passed through their shields without stopping them. Sergeant Frank Tucker led the first defensive line. His team of 40 soldiers took positions in the reinforced bunkers north of the main entrance. They had rifles, grenades, and a single heavy plasma cannon. Frank aimed the cannon himself. The weapon was the most powerful thing the colony had ever built. It fired a beam of superheated energy that could melt through titanium. The cannon's charge cycle took 30 seconds. Frank waited until the Vorn were close, then fired. The beam hit a Vorn warrior directly. The crystalline beam fell and did not move. Frank thought maybe they had a chance. Then 3 more Vorn warriors appeared where the first one had fallen. They moved around the bunker position. The soldiers fired everything they had. They threw grenades and emptied entire weapon magazines. Nothing stopped the VOR. Frank ordered his team to fall back. They ran toward the main colony building while the Vorn followed. Some soldiers did not make it to the building. The Vorn caught them before they could reach safety. Derek heard the communication from Frank. The sergeant's voice was calm and steady. "First line is falling back," Frank reported. "We are going to make a stand at the main entrance." Derek nodded even though Frank could not see him. He knew what that meant. The soldiers at the main entrance would die to buy time for the civilians deeper. Underground. The defense positions crumbled one by one. Each bunker, each fortified location, fell in less than an hour. The soldiers fought hard, but the Vorn were too fast, too strong, and too many. Derek gave the order for the remaining civilians to move to the deepest shelter level. Dr. Lisa Morrison was down there with them. Including Sophie and Max, the Vorn reached the main entrance to the colony. The doors were sealed with multiple locks, but the Vorn began to cut through them. Sparks flew from the crystalline energy weapons. The metal doors began to glow from the heat. Frank and his remaining soldiers, only 20 now, prepared their last defense. They had grenades, rifles, and 1 plasma cannon. They had courage. That was not enough. The door fell away. The Vorn entered the colony. Frank gave the final order. All units, we hold the corridor. We do not fall back. The last soldiers of the colony fired their weapons one final time. The Vorn came forward. The corridor filled with light and sound and the end of human defense. Derek received the final message from Frank. The sergeant's voice was quiet and final. Command Center. This is Frank. They are coming your way. I'm sorry, sir. We did our best. The communication went dead. Frank was gone. Derek looked at the screens. The Vorn were moving through the colony corridors. They moved toward the command center and the shelters below. Derek had less than 5 minutes to make his next decision. He thought about Sophie. He thought about Max, the useless dog. He thought about 500 people waiting in the deep shelters with no hope left. Derek pressed the emergency communication button. His voice went out to everyone in the colony. All military personnel, fall back to the command center. This is our final position. We will defend the civilians for as long as we can. Whatever happens next, you will remember that we fought. We fought for our families. We fought for our home. We did not surrender. The remaining soldiers arrived at the command center. There were 40 of them left. 40 soldiers against an entire army of Vorn warriors. The ground began to shake. The Vorn were breaking through the walls. They were getting closer every second. Derek received a message from Dr. Lisa Morrison in the shelters. We have 40 minutes before they reach the underground entrance, Lisa said. There is nowhere else to go, Derek. There are no more escape routes. Derek did not respond. He watched his daughter's drawing on the wall. Sophie's picture of Earth was still there, still showing blue oceans and green forests. The Vorn breached the outer wall of the command center. The end was coming. Derek realized he had failed. He could not save his people. He could not save his daughter. All the weapons, all the training, all the strategy meant nothing against the Vorn. The final defense was about to begin. And Derek knew his people would lose. The Vorn warrior entered the command center first, its crystalline body cutting through the darkness like a broken mirror. The soldiers opened fire. The bullets struck the creature, but did not stop it. The Vorn moved through the fire as if it were nothing. Derek ordered the soldiers to fall back toward the shelter entrance. He needed to buy time, a few more minutes, for something he did not know. But he kept fighting because that was what a commander did. Then the communication system crackled. Dr. Lisa Morrison's voice came through, but it was different. She sounded not afraid, but determined. Derek, Sophie is coming up, Lisa said. She is coming to the command center. No, Derek responded immediately. Send her back. Lock the doors. I could not stop her, Lisa said. She got past the guards. She is running toward you. Derek felt his heart break. His daughter was running toward danger. She was running toward the Vorn. The soldiers continued to fight. More Vorn warriors entered the command center. The defenders fell back step by step. The battle was lost. Derek knew it. The soldiers knew it. Everyone knew it. Then Sophie appeared in the doorway. She was holding Max in her arms. The small dog was pressing against her chest, his ears flat against his head. Sophie, get down, Derek shouted. He pulled his daughter to the ground and covered her with his body. Max growled. The sound was low and angry, a sound Derek had never heard the dog make before. The small creature felt the danger. Max felt the threat to his pack. Sophie whispered something to the dog. Her voice was quiet, but her words were clear. Get them, Max. Protect us. You can do it. Max pulled away from Sophie. The small dog stood up and looked directly at the nearest Vorn warrior. His body shook, but not from fear. The dog was ready. Max charged forward. A small brown and white dog running at a crystalline warrior that was 10 times his size. It seemed impossible. It seemed crazy, but Max's instincts were older than human civilization. Earth creatures had survived for millions of years by fighting predators and overcoming impossible odds. Max was an Earth creature. The dog's teeth found the Vorn warrior's arm. Max bit down hard. His saliva, which had evolved over millions of years to break down prey and kill parasites, contacted the crystalline structure of the Vorn. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The crystalline arm cracked. The cracks spread across the Vorn's body like lightning. The warrior fell and did not move. The soldiers stopped firing. They stared at what they were seeing. A small dog had just killed a Vorn warrior. Derek's mind worked quickly. His scientific training kicked in. The Vorn were silicon-based life forms, creatures built from crystalline structures that could withstand human technology. But Earth biology had evolved under brutal conditions. Earth creatures had venoms, acids, enzymes, and antibodies refined over millions of years of survival. Max's saliva was a weapon the Vorn had never encountered. It was a biological attack against which they had no defense. "Bring the dogs," Derek ordered. "All of them, now." Soldiers ran to the shelter sections. They came back carrying 15 dogs of different sizes and types. There were hunting dogs, working dogs, and companion dogs. There was Max, standing beside Sophie, breathing hard and ready to fight again. The other Vorn warriors did not understand what was happening. Their technology had no answer for biological attack. Their weapons could shoot and burn and destroy, but they could not stop the ancient evolution of Earth. The dogs were released. They attacked the Vorn with the instinct of pack hunters. They bit and clawed at the crystalline bodies. Everywhere their saliva touched, the Vorn began to crack and break apart. A large black dog attacked a Vorn warrior. Another dog, smaller and faster, went for the creature's legs. The Vorn tried to use their weapons, but the dogs moved too quickly. They had spent millions of years learning how to fight predators. The Vorn had never faced anything like them. Max continued to fight. The small dog was bleeding from several wounds, but he did not stop. He did not retreat. He fought for Sophie, his pack, his family. That was all that mattered. The Vorn commander, watching from outside the colony, saw what was happening. Its warriors were falling. Its technology was useless. The creatures it had called worthless were destroying its forces. The Vorn commander made a choice. The colony was not worth the cost of this battle. There was something here that the Vorn did not understand, something their weapons could not defeat. The order came through the Vorn communication network. Retreat. Pull back. Leave this world. The remaining Vorn warriors fled the command center. They ran toward their ships. The dogs pursued them, still attacking, still fighting, still winning. Derek watched as the Vorn began to take off. Their ships lifted from the ground and moved into the sky. The invasion was over. Sophie ran to Max and held the dog in her arms. Max was hurt, bleeding from several wounds, but he was alive. He had fought for his pack. He had won. Derek looked at his daughter holding the dog and understood something important. Humanity's greatest strength was not in technology or weapons. It was in the connections they made with all living things. A small dog, loved by a little girl, had saved the entire colony. The medical center was filled with soldiers and animals. Dr. Lisa Morrison worked quickly, checking wounds and giving treatment. Max lay on a medical table, and Dr. Morrison cleaned his injuries with careful hands. The small dog had deep bites and scratches, but none of the wounds were life-ending. "He will recover," Lisa told Sophie. "He is a strong creature." Sophie sat beside Max and held his paw. She did not leave his side. Derek walked through the colony with Sergeant Frank Tucker. Frank had survived the battle, though he carried wounds from the fighting. Half of his soldiers had died. The colony had lost over 100 people. What happens now? Frank asked Derek, looked at the damaged buildings and the destroyed defense positions. The colony would need time to rebuild. But more importantly, they would need a new strategy. "We gather all the dogs," Derek said. "Every dog in the colony. We understand them. We train them. They become part of our defense." Frank nodded. "The Vorn have weapons we cannot match, but they have no defense against Earth creatures." The word spread quickly through the colony. All dogs were brought to a central location. There were 17 in total. Some were large and strong. Some were small, like Max. All of them carried the biological weapons of Earth in their bodies. Derek created a new division. The Dog Squadron, he called it. The soldiers who worked with the dogs learned how to coordinate their attacks. They learned how to read the dog's body language and timing dot over the next week. The Vorn made 3 more attempts to attack the colony. Each time, the dogs were released. Each time, the Vorn were forced to retreat. The crystalline warriors could not stand against the ancient defenses of Earth's creatures. On the 7th day, the Vorn sent a message. "We will not return to this world," the Vorn commander said through the communication system. "You possess weapons we do not understand. Your creatures are dangerous to our kind. We leave this colony. We will find other worlds." The Vorn ships departed. They left orbit and jumped to faster-than-light speed. The colony was safe. Derek stood in the medical center and watched Sophie with Max. The dog's wounds were healing. His fur was growing back. Soon he would be completely recovered. "Thank you," Sophie whispered to Max. "Thank you for being brave." Max licked Sophie's face. The dog did not know he was a hero. He did not understand that he had saved lives. He only knew that his pack was safe, and that was enough. Derek thought about what had happened. A small dog had done what human weapons could not. A creature that people had called worthless had proven to be invaluable. The colony had learned an important lesson about strength and value. The soldiers began to rebuild. New buildings rose where old ones had fallen. New defenses were constructed. But the most important defense was walking on 4 legs and sleeping beside the humans, who had trained and fed them. Max became famous throughout the colony. Children wanted to touch him and hear the story of how he had fought the Vorn. But Max did not care about fame. He only cared about Sophie. He stayed close to her, protecting her as he always had. Derek authorized a new program. Young dogs would be brought to the colony and trained with soldiers. The bond between human and animal would become the foundation of the colony's safety. Weeks after the final battle, Derek sat with Lisa in the command center. They looked at the screens showing the empty space around Kepler 452b. No Vorn ships. No enemies. Just stars and silence. "We were wrong about many things," Lisa said. Derek agreed. "We thought strength came from weapons and technology. We thought the most powerful things in the universe came from what we could build. But strength comes from connections," Lisa continued. "From the bonds we make with others. Even with creatures we thought were worthless." Derek looked at the picture Sophie had drawn of Earth. He thought about the millions of years of evolution that had produced Max and the other Earth dogs. All that ancient history, all that survival and struggle, had brought them to this moment. A small creature from a world light years away had saved a human colony because it loved a little girl. The greatest weapon in the universe was not made in a factory. It was born in love. 3 months after the Vorn retreat, the colony held a ceremony. The gathered colonists stood in the central plaza, a large open space where the community met for important events. Derek stood with Sophie and Max. The dog wore a special collar, a symbol of his service and heroism. Dr. Lisa Morrison presented her research findings to the assembled crowd. She had spent weeks studying the biological properties that made Earth creatures effective against the Vorn. Earth's biosphere evolved under harsh conditions, Lisa explained to the crowd. Our planet has extreme temperatures, deadly predators, and constant competition for survival. This created living creatures with remarkable abilities. She held up a vial containing a clear liquid. This is a small sample of the saliva from Max and the other Earth dogs. When this substance contacts the silicon-based structure of the Vorn, it creates a chemical reaction. The crystalline bonds break down. The Vorn cannot survive this attack. The colonists listened carefully. What Lisa was describing was revolutionary. Earth creatures possessed natural defenses that no human weapon could match. The Vorn technology is advanced, Lisa continued, but it evolved in an environment without Earth life forms. They developed weapons and shields against other silicon-based creatures. They had no reason to develop defenses against carbon-based biological attack. We have something they do not have. We have Earth. Derek stepped forward to address the colony. The Vorn taught us an important lesson, Derek said. We believed that our greatest strength came from machines and weapons. We built cannons and rifles and nuclear devices. But we were wrong. He looked at Max, standing quietly beside Sophie. Our greatest strength comes from the connections we make. Connections with each other, and connections with the creatures we share this world with. Max is not powerful because of muscles or size. Max is powerful because he loves Sophie. That love made him brave. That love made him strong. Derek continued, we will change how we approach defense. Every soldier will work with an Earth animal. Every family will be encouraged to keep companions from our homeworld. The creatures of Earth are not pets. They are partners. They are warriors. They are our survival. The ceremony continued with individual recognitions. Max received a formal Medal of Honor, the first animal to ever receive this recognition. Other dogs and animals who had fought against the Vorn were honored as well. When the ceremony ended, the colonists celebrated. They shared food and water. They told stories of the battle. They talked about the day when a small dog changed the course of their history. Sophie walked through the colony with Max at her side. People stopped to thank the dog and the girl. Children asked Sophie to tell them stories about how Max fought the Vorn warriors. Max was not afraid, Sophie told them. He knew I was in danger, and he did not care that the Vorn were bigger and stronger. He just knew he had to protect his pack. That night, Derek sat alone in the command center. He looked at the screens showing the dark space around Kepler 452b. The Vorn were gone. The immediate threat had passed. But Derek knew there would be other threats in the future. He thought about Sophie and Max. He thought about the other soldiers who had died in the battle. He thought about the colonists who had lost loved ones. The victory had been expensive. But it was a victory. The colony had survived. Derek pulled up the file of Earth species that the colony had brought with them. Dogs were just the beginning. There were other creatures from humanity's homeworld. Cats with hunting instincts. Birds with speed and precision. Reptiles with unique abilities. All of them carried the ancient knowledge of Earth's evolution. The colony would become a fortress not of metal and weapons, but of living creatures evolved to survive anything. The Vorn had made a critical error. They had assumed that human superiority came from machines. They did not understand that humanity's greatest strength was in the connection between humans and all other living things. Derek looked at Sophie's drawing again. The picture of Earth with blue oceans and green forests seemed different now. It was not just a drawing of a distant world. It was a reminder of where humans came from. It was a record of the struggles and survival that had shaped every living thing on that planet. A small dog from Earth had defeated an advanced alien civilization. That fact alone would echo through human history. It would remind people that strength comes in many forms. It would show that the most powerful weapons are sometimes born not in factories, but in the ancient forests and dangerous lands of humanity's homeworld. Sophie brought Max to Derek's quarters that night. The dog jumped onto the bed and curled up between Derek and Sophie. The small creature that could not fight, that carried no weapons, that had no military value, was now the colony's greatest defender. Derek held his daughter close. Max pressed against them both. In that moment, Derek understood the truth that the colony had discovered through battle and loss. The greatest strength was not in what you built or what you controlled. It was in who you loved and who loved you in return. A small dog, brought to a distant planet by humans seeking a new home, had shown the entire colony what it meant to truly survive. The colony would rebuild. The colony would grow stronger. And at the heart of that strength would be the simple, fierce loyalty of Earth creatures to the humans who called them family. The story of how the smallest creature on Kepler 452b had saved everyone would be told for generations to come. And every time someone told that story, they would remember that the most powerful things in the universe are often the simplest ones: love, loyalty, the bond between a girl and her dog. These were the real weapons that had defeated the Vorn. These were the weapons that would protect humanity's future.